Welcome to the Ask for Football Army Football Show. The Army Football Show is an insider's guide for cadets, old grads, and college football fans to follow the Army team throughout their season as they seek to beat Navy and claim the Commander-in-Chief's trophy. Ask for Football is brought to you by our sponsor, Jocelyn Bradley Real Estate. Whether you're buying, selling, or just exploring your options, Jocelyn Bradley is the expert you can trust to navigate the real estate market with ease. Visit jocelynbradley.com to learn more. And let's get started at the Ask for Football Army Football Show.
Welcome back to the Ask for Football Army Football Show. It's your host, Jordan. I started to talk about myself and then went right into thinking I was going to talk about Dan in Coastal Connecticut. So I apologize for vomit. It's your host, Jordan in Orlando, joined by Rob in Fayetteville, James in the great state of Texas, and Dan in Coastal Connecticut. Gentlemen, Army is back to even, right? 3-3, 500, win over Charlotte this week at home. Dan, obviously you were there, Oktoberfest. Tell us all about it.
It was fun, man. We really enjoyed it. I will say the fourth quarter, and as much of the rain as just the kind of play on the field and the way it sort of fell apart, wasn't the greatest. And we were about ready to make a pretty early exit, but thankfully the rain slacked off, and then my buddy, when we got back to the tailgate, had already started the fire, so we got warmed up, and it was fun.
Guy.
I got a question for a game goer, Dan.
Okay.
I have a report from someone else I know who was at the game who said that it was miserable to hear the stadium scoreboard DJ playing over the cadet band throughout the entire game.
Yeah, I don't know about throughout the entire game, but he definitely talked over the alma mater, which I've never seen before.
Yeah,
that's a new guy, or the same guy that always flexes himself on social media.
A couple, I don't know if it's still him. A couple of years ago, they had a new guy, and it was really like, it wasn't that he was playing over the band; it was that the scoreboard, like the levels were messed up, and it was turned up way too high, and they fixed that. Like the next game, it was better, or even I think it was like, we had let someone know, and then later that quarter it was better. But this is like playing over. Like I have a little bit, I hate when I go to a minor league baseball game and they have to like convince me that being there is fun. Like, no, I'm there to watch the baseball. You don't need to have every half inning some kid come out and try for 2 free tickets later in the year because you got to convince him to come back. Like this is not a concert. This is college football. Let the college band play.
I'm sure some boomer old grad complained about it, and if they didn't, James, I'm sure you will.
Hey,
so
let's if you know somebody, let's make a file a complaint.
I actually enjoyed the DJ work this week, and the only time, like I said, that I really noticed it was when he's talked over the alma mater, which, like I said, I've never seen before. But I generally thought that the music was actually improved over the course of the season. Early in the season, the sound was just off. Like the timing was off. In week 1 against Tarleton State, like it was definitely week 1, and a lot of people needed some game reps. This week didn't bother me.
I'd be happier with zero music whatsoever and just let the band go. Stick a couple of microphones in front of the band, and then let that music get played over the speaker.
Guys, as riveting as this is, I don't think our listeners really care about our opinions on stadium noise.
Chime in.
And Dan, you kind of killed my segue, right? James had just said, well, if we know somebody, we can complain. I was going to segue that right into talking about, Jocelyn Bradley, our realtor, and, how she knows a lot of people. But you kind of killed that for me. So I'm just going to give it over to you to talk about Jocelyn Bradley.
All right, thanks. So if you listen to this show at all, you know that we have a realtor that sponsors the show. QR code in the left-hand corner of the screen, or at least on my screen, right? That's the new addition. So if you need to connect with Jocelyn, just click on that and you can go straight to her website. She's a veteran who spent her military career in Army logistics. There she discovered her passion for making a difference in people's lives. She's committed to helping people find their dream homes when they're in the market, and she provides exceptional service when she's working for you. Jocelyn's also has an extensive network of veteran realtors who can support you if you're relocating anywhere else in the country. So if you're in the market for a home, she should be your first call. She's decided to support us here at Ask for Football this season, and we thank her for that. And this is the right person to get you into the home of your dreams. Even if you're not moving to Fort Bragg, reach out to Jocelyn. She can help point you into the direction of somebody that is trustworthy, that will help you find your home in your respective area that you're going to. And that's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. All right. Hey, well, let's talk about Charlotte, right? Army played 2.5 outstanding quarters, maybe the best performance from the defense this season. Rob, I know you have some thoughts on that in just a minute, but the Black Knights ultimately beat Charlotte 24-7. Army's defense really held Charlotte to virtually no offense in this game, especially through the first 3 quarters. 68 yards rushing on 2.3 yards per carry, 110 yards passing on 4.2 yards per attempt. That's less than 200 yards of total offense. Charlotte got the ball first and put up a few first downs running the football, and then penalty and a few errant passes ended that drive. Cale Helms started for Army, and based on the way it went, I think we can probably expect to see, Helms starting for the rest of this season. He ran 50 yards to set up Army's first touchdown, finished with 143 yards, 2 touchdowns on just 21 worth of work. He also went 2 for 4 passing, both incompletions coming on throwaways when there really wasn't anything downfield. And they even let him make some midline option reads. Dan, that's something we kind of talked about last week of, is Helms more of the kind of wildcat designed run, or is he reading the option as well as Coleman does? I know we had a debate about that last week, but it seems like they're actually starting to let Helms read the option and read the offense a little bit more. And overall, it was his most complete performance as Army's starting quarterback. We saw a lot of growth, I think, on both sides of the ball, but specifically on the offense. Hayden Reed unfortunately fumbled on a breakaway run in Army's second drive. Realistically, probably the only bad play from the starters all game, but the defense forced a 4-and-out to hold Charlotte on the board. And then Army's third drive went 17 plays for 85 yards in just under 11 minutes. Carson Smith and Briggs Bartosh led the way on this drive, and Smith ran with a lot of power and speed. It was impressive to watch how much speed he could get off the line. He finished with a 5-yard touchdown run on 3rd and 2. Really, Army really could have probably done anything once Charlotte's linebackers came down into the box, but the Black Knights just stuck with the run and wore their asses out. Third drive went 7 plays in just 1 minute and 14 seconds and scored a field goal. Stayed in the triple option, used the timeouts, excellent drive. We've seen that a lot from Helms this week. He's outstanding on the quick drives, very efficient in his decision-making when, we're kind of in that 2-minute offense. After half, we hit one more big drive, keyed by a downfield pass to slot back Noah Short. We'd been looking for the pass earlier in the game, but that was the time Short got actual separation. That made it 24-0, and the staff pulled Helms for the rest of the game. Unfortunately, the offense stalled late. Coleman was, trying to get things moving and just couldn't quite get it. And the defensive backups end up giving up a touchdown in garbage time. Still, Army finished with 304 yards rushing on almost 5 yards per carry, 8 for 14 on 3rd downs, and 2 for 3 on 4th downs. Rob, I know you probably have the most opinions about this game since Army's defense played so well up until kind of that last little bit in garbage time. Kind of take us through defensively what you saw and what you think we're going to see going forward.
Yeah, so of course I was bummed to watch them lose the shutout. Like for old back in the old days with helmet stickers, you had to get all 4 quarters, right? So like it doesn't don't count for 3. It doesn't matter when you're on the field. But yeah, one thing that I'll say on the defense, I think we've seen a much improved defensive front, particularly with some injuries, and so like you're starting to get contributions from some of the underclassmen that normally were kind of the also rans. Even though Cody Harris Miller is still out, we're starting to see some other guys step up and perform a little bit better, which is nice to see. Our edge linebackers are actually getting to the quarterback, which was, causing some problems for them, as well as, just the linebackers making tackles. Like the run fits were a lot better this week. And I don't know if it was the design of run that Charlotte was running, or is just the scheme change, or maybe a little bit of both. But I think the defense probably had their best performance of the season. And, is when you look at it statistically, you like to see the linebackers being the number 1 tacklers on the team. Like if you've got safeties or defensive backs making tackles, either that means you're running a lot of stunts or a lot of guys are getting into that second level. So, it was good to see Caleb Fortner, kind of stand out this week as the main tackler, and that just means their defensive line is soaking up the blocks like they're supposed to. So I think from that performance, I think it was good. And then offensively, not that I comment much on the offense, but you got to say, ball distribution between 8 guys carrying the ball is pretty awesome. Particularly for an Army team that had a couple feature players last year, and they did most of the heavy lifting. But as far as all in all, great defensive game. Again, I think it was probably the most complete game that the defense has played all season.
James, you don't have anything written in the outline, which usually means that you have a lot of thoughts and opinions, and you're gonna
only
hit us
two
with.
things.
So
Only two things. First of all, they said something during the broadcast, which I'm sure the Army SIDS provided them with, but Army has 247 all-time shutouts. That's a wild number, considering they have like 700 and something wins.
okay, how many of those? I'm not being ugly. How many of those were like in 1892?
I'm sure that
YMCA.
Yeah. I'm sure that 200 of them are pre-1940, like pre-1950. For a long time, Army didn't play away games except for Army Navy neutral site and Yale, but like that's sort of besides the point. Like, even if you consider that and the fact that Georgia Tech was doing the same damn thing in 1912, right? Like 247, I gotta think that's at the top. I mean, that's a third of your all-time wins.
I don't know.
That's kind of crazy. But anyway, back to this specific game, and makes it a bummer what happened in the last 8 seconds of the game. But the main thing, it was almost funny to watch. Like you could tell towards the end of the first half that there were some obvious passing situations, and like one or two maybe in the entire first half, and you could just tell that Cody Worley was not doing it. Like, he wanted so badly not to pass, and then he got put in a position where he absolutely had to, and they threw it away. And then after that, like, his willingness to pass kind of opened up. And I think there's a bit of that where it's like, okay, Helms is the guy. If we're going to do this, it has to work on the ground. I'd love for this stat line at the end of the game to be 0 attempted passes, right? Like the classic 0 attempted passes, 0 penalties, 0 negative plays, right? If you can do that, it's like the trifecta. I think that the staff was like hoping, yeah, I know it's Charlotte, but if we can just get one of these games, it'll be a really good thing for the team. And then his hand got forced. He had to throw a pass, and then he ends up throwing 4 before the backup comes in, and Coleman, who's the passing quarterback, throws another 2 in the fourth quarter. Like, it was really funny to just watch the playbook, the third chapter of the playbook, open up the second Cody Worley said, "Okay, I'll pass now." Like, I thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah, I thought we'd pass more. So I'm on the other side of that. I guess I thought we'd pass more, and but it
was all in the second half.
Ground, but it's like when we were going on the ground, it's like there's no reason to pass. Yeah. So anyway, Dan, Ray from the Firsty Club wants us to ask you, how many of these pre-1950 shutouts were you at personally?
Ray is my classmate. I've known him since we were both 18. So, okay.
Well,
that's not what I heard.
That's not what I heard either. So, Dan, what are your thoughts? I mean, assuming you kind of stumbled down, right? Let's take it back. All right. Let's do a point of view from Dan up in the lots. Right. You took your arthritis medication in the morning, and, had to stretch before you walked up into the lots. You had a couple beers, started talking about, what it was like when you met President Grant at your graduation, and then you kind of stumbled, down to the game. And is that about right?
Yeah, that's not too far off. I mean, we had pretty good morning. It was beautiful out there. It was sunny. Like you said, it was our Oktoberfest tailgate. I bought all this,
Did you wear lederhosen?
European beer. I did not. No, I didn't commit all the way. I committed about halfway.
That's good. For those listeners that are not like deep into their As for Football lore, we've talked about doing an As for Football like calendar. And I think Dan has reserved October, and has some Army themed lederhosen that he was going to wear, but I've been fighting really hard to save you all from having to see that. So anyway, Dan, go ahead.
They ran a lot of the stuff this week that made this team so good last year. You saw, like I said, you saw Helm's making those reads between the tackles. He's been making them on the edges, and he's always been good in the RPO game. But I saw at least 2 plays that I thought were obvious midline option plays where he read the defense. They got offensive tackle Teddy Williams pulling this week, which is the thing they've been struggling to make work.
That was great.
Yeah, they've been struggling to make that work, and they got that working, so that's good. Got a bunch of work for the fullbacks, so Helms wasn't doing all the lifting between the tackles. I mean, this team looks ready for bigger and better things. You know, we got 2 games where, okay, we got everything right. We got wins and put these teams away. And now, yeah, this team looks like they're ready for the next thing. And that's awesome. Go ahead.
There was one more thing that I noticed when it came to the reads. I really think so much, and I tweeted this out, like so much of what they're letting the quarterback decide is based on how the defense reacts to Noah Short. Like his motions do so much. There was they had a replay at some point in the second quarter where 2 linebackers in a corner were all flat-footed going towards Noah Short, and Helm gives them a read, gives a fullback read the other way, and he picks up 12. Like,
yeah,
those guys are terrified of Noah Short.
It's interesting because Charlotte really sold out to stop Noah Short. I think Short had maybe 6 carries for 4 yards or something. I mean, his stat line was not great this week.
Well, he did have the catch too.
Well, okay, but my point is, they gave it to Short just enough to rip the shit out of this defense using the interior running game. And no matter what happened, they weren't coming off worried about Short because, these guys gave up 300 yards, almost probably 250 of it between the tackles, and yet here we are.
Yeah. I mean, Noah Short was held, 8 carries, 20 yards, 2.5 yards per carry. But at the same time, you also felt like when he got stopped for minimal gain, or it was like, 2nd and 6 already. So it wasn't the end of a drive. I feel like when it was 3rd and 4, 3rd and 6, he was still getting enough yards to make it interesting, which was, I don't know.
I mean, they gave him the ball enough to keep the defense fixed on him.
Right. Yeah.
It
was effective enough. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it. Kudos to the staff, I think, for realizing that they really need to invest in Helm's development this season. I mean, think about it this way. And we've got a question about this a little later in the outline, but they invested like 10 quarters in Dwayne Coleman last year and thought he was going to be the starter this year and went through all this stuff preparing him. And then you have this change, and then Dwayne Coleman comes back in and plays, lights out against North Texas. And I think it's tough with all of that going on to realize, no, we really need to invest in this guy and sort of think about the next season and a half and work on his development. But that's paid off.
Yeah, completely agree. All right, hey, let's get into our awards section.
Hang on a second. I got to find that damn thing. Do you have it here, Rob?
Yes.
It's for you, Jordan.
That would have been a real bummer if we couldn't find that one today. Who's your player of the game?
Fullback Carson Smith, who took 6 carries for 37 yards and a touchdown. It's more than 6 yards per carry. I think he looks like the team's best power runner in traffic. Like, big dude who can move the pile. I'm with it, man. He was awesome.
Rob?
Yeah, hey, I'm giving it to a whole unit. The defensive front, like the front 5, so the nose tackles and defensive ends, I think they did pretty well this week. Kept the linebackers free. They were able to scrape. Got to see some great run fits too. There were some big hits in the hole, which were nice. There were some misses, but I think for the most part, like I said, the front 7 did a pretty good job. Plus, I got a couple sacks too.
James?
I'm going Noah Short. He got held to 20 yards, and then he had that 44-yard catch. But so much of the effectiveness of the offense came from his motions. We already talked about it, but yeah, he's my player of the game.
All right, and then do we have a play of the game?
I just wanted, we already talked about it, so we didn't need to beat it with a stick. But I noticed during either the second or the third quarter that Helms did one of those slow mesh midline option reads, and I was like, he did the thing. So 3 beers in.
I'll give one 38-yard field goal. I mean, again, this is the second week in a row Dawson Jones has looked good kicking the football. for the first time this year, 2 weeks in a row now, I feel like I can, Army can get to the 30-yard line. I'm like, we got a chance to score here. Whereas before, it's like you got to be deep in the red zone before I feel like we're gonna get points.
Yeah, it's Army kickers have been the bane of our existence. So
well, the last 4 or 5 years we've been spoiled.
We have, yes, but if we go back to the dark days,
your times,
yes, my times, the mid-teens, it's some tough times, tough times. All right, let's Dan, hit me with the next sounder. Let's go.
Shall we play a game?
All right, James, make us all feel stupid because we didn't know some obscure fact because we spend time with our families instead of scrolling through the record books at 3 a.m. while watching Japanese high school football like you do.
Just so you know, I came up with this by looking through the record book about 2 minutes before we went on air.
James don't believe you. It's fine. It's fine. I'm the procrastinator. We can't have more than one on the show. That's my thing. So thank you.
All right, so this one I think should be fun. I don't think all of these are gettable, but 11 players. You'll get there. A lot of them are, but that's the fun of it. 11 players, 2022 and later, that have recorded a 100-yard rushing game.
Oh, can I go first?
Holy smokes!
Well, Jordan went first last time. I think Rob's up now.
But I won, so I get to go first again.
Okay, fair enough.
Bryson Daly.
All right, Bryson Daly is 1.
Whew.
This is in no order, in no particular order. When I say 1, I just mean that's the first one.
Dano.
I was waiting for you, Rob. Well, shit, I'll go Ahmad Bradshaw, as long as we're taking the easy ones.
Since 2022, Dan.
Boom! You got to read the fine print, old man.
Oh, oh, Jesus.
Sad trombone. Kanye Udo.
Kanye
Udo. Does that include this current season that we're in?
It does include the current season.
It's a Cale Helms.
Cale Helms.
Tyrell Robinson.
Noah Short.
Damn
Noah
it.
Short.
Oh, shit. Wow. Oh, no, I lost it. Can I pass on this one?
All right. Dan's up next.
When did Tyler graduate? Tyler. You got to go back to 2022 and think about
it. Was the first year before Daly was 2022.
Yeah, so that's back with the Brent Davis offense, but the new cut blocking rules. So it was very screwy.
Yeah, I think I
that season.
Repressed that season.
I think they did okay, all things considered. But yeah, it was a very strange season.
Yeah, a lot of penalties.
Yes. Rob.
Jacoby Buchanan?
Jacoby Buchanan, no. Never had a 100-yard rushing game.
Oh, really? Interesting.
He had a lot of 55-yard rushing games with 35 carries, none of them for negative yards. But he never had – obviously, that's an exaggeration. But Jordan, you're back up.
Oh, shit. I have not even been thinking. I thought
I'll give you hints now that we're back at the beginning.
Okay.
We have two quarterbacks left, 2 fullbacks left, and 1 slot back left. The slot back is tough. It's going to be hard to get the slot back. Fullbacks and quarterbacks.
Oh, my Lord. Dwayne Coleman's not on there, is he?
Dwayne Coleman.
Really? Look at me.
Both last year and this year.
He rushed for 100 yards in that Air Force game?
He must have.
All right. Okay.
No, I'm sorry. He did not hit it last year. He's hit it once this year. 100 yards versus Tarleton State.
Okay. Am I up or is Rob up?
Rob's up.
I think it's me. Oh, crap.
I'm sorry. Dan's up.
Dan's up. Good.
I think. I forget.
Briggs Bartosh, because he had that 75-yard run, so he didn't need much after that.
Nope.
Damn it.
Oh, geez. So we got B-backs left. I don't know if this is right here. Is it Slonka? That's
Nope.
too
That's too
soon.
old. Yep.
Yeah, too old.
All right, let me try to give you another hint. So you got one quarterback left on the list. Think I'm trying to think of the right hint to give.
I know who I'm guessing. There can really only be one. Christian Anderson.
Nope. I think we've exhausted it. And the score, Jordan wins this week with Daly, Coleman, and Helms. The 3 quarterbacks, by the way. Who were missing, Jamel Jones.
Oh, okay.
The 2 running backs, Hayden Reed.
Okay.
And Tyson Riley.
Should have gotten Hayden Reed. That was good.
And the slot back that was very hard was Brahim Murphy.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, I wouldn't have got that.
What did he broke some long ones in 2022? I remember that.
Yeah. He had one
They
game.
were running a lot of reverses and counters and shit that year.
Yeah. So maybe he hit 2 like 40-yard reverses and doubled it up with a couple of 10-yard runs. But
Okay, I gotta ask a question. How do y'all remember all this shit? Like Dan knows, like, oh, that was the year they did this, and we were running that. And every year, it's like we're wiping the slate clean for me, and we're starting over. It's like totally new page, and like I'm throwing the other ones away. Like I can't get back in the halt like that.
I remember because I remember being at the games. And I just, every season has its own vibe, and it's like I remember stuff that happens at the tailgates, and it sort of syncs with the stuff that happens on the field. It's all one experience for me, Jordan.
He's a big vibe guy, Jordan.
I mean, clearly. I mean, Dan, I know you got a little touch of the tism, so I was gonna, attribute to that. I mean, clearly, it's your minor alcoholism is you remember.
Wow.
And you're laughing so hard, so it's true.
Yeah, no. That's funny.
I did, Dan. I don't know how I'm going to segue what I just.
That's all right. I got it.
Craig, so all you.
Friends, this show is sponsored by Craig Oxane, area sales manager for the Money Store. He is a member of the West Point class of 1994. He is the mortgage broker you need if you're trying to buy a house. So we're going to get you the realtor to get you the house, and we're going to get you the mortgage broker to get you the loan. He is licensed to lend in all 50 states, but based out of Chicago, one of the most successful VA lenders in the country. Friends, Craig is going to give you the best deal he possibly can, which is important because the mortgage process is freaking confusing. There's so many moving pieces going on. You got interest rates, you got prices, all this crazy stuff. Do not deal with some clown who wants to make a buck off you. Don't deal with some random call center, big box bank, mindless website. Deal with a person that you can talk to who will actually answer your questions on a phone. This is how the West Point Network functions, right? Craig is helping us stay in business here at As for Football, and we're helping you get the best deal on a mortgage that we can by trying to introduce you to the very man you need to meet. Plus, Craig does not charge lending fees for veterans. That's a gigantic savings. That's like $1,300. Save yourself $1,300. As Jordan likes, get that money, friends. So Craig Oxane, area sales manager for the Money Store. Check him out. His link's on our website. You can also see the QR code that Rob just put up if you're watching this on video. It's too easy, man. He and Jocelyn both have those little business cards. Click on there. You'll be talking to them in a little while. It's too easy.
Dan, I don't know if you're open to suggestions on sounders, but could we get the money sounder?
I guess I can work on that. I don't know when I'll have time, but sure.
Thanks. I mean, you
just clip that, and then we can use it.
Please don't.
Yeah, 100%.
That could totally happen.
Yeah, that's
Rob's
too easy
doing
to
it
do.
right now. Great. All right. Let's talk about Tulane. So Tulane comes into this game 5-1 under second-year head coach John Summerall. Opened with a big home win over Northwestern. Played close at South Alabama, but escaped with a win. Beat Duke soundly at home. Lost at Ole Miss 45-10. Beat Tulsa on the road, and then just beat East Carolina at home last Thursday night, 26-19, off a dominant first-half performance, especially from their defense. It's maybe worth noting that Tulane has been way better at home this year than they have been on the road. It's kind of a shame that we have to go down to NOLA and play at Tulane. Otherwise, I think we might like our odds a little bit better. Dan, why don't you take us through what we have going on the offense of the Green Wave?
Yeah, I don't know if this is the offense that they planned, but Tulane has become like a very serious power running attack with a augmented by a downfield passing game that's only just started to come together. So this week against East Carolina is the first time that they've really hit 300 plus yards passing, and that downfield passing attack has looked good. Quarterback Jake Retzloff has arguably been not quite as good as advertised, though, on the season. He's 94 of 161 passing for not quite 1,200 yards, 58% completion percentage, although he was way more accurate this past week against East Carolina. 4 touchdowns against 5 sacks, no interceptions. Dude also has 400 yards rushing and 7 rushing touchdowns on 6.3 yards per carry. I'm telling you, he's a great runner. They could absolutely go to the Green Wave's old school spread triple option and make it work with this guy. It's nuts. And they do run some option with him. Tulane has this whole stable of running backs going for about 5 yards per carry. Team's got 12 rushing touchdowns this season against just 5 passing. There's not just one star receiver on this team. Wide receivers Omari Hayes, Shaz Preston, and Bryce Bohannon all have between 15 and 19 catches. 2 more guys have between 8 and 10 catches. And then tight end Justin Reed has 7. And there's tons more guys who have like 5. So for what it's worth, Tulane really tried to work the passing game this past week, as we said. When they hit those downfield passes, though, it's freaking devastating because that running game is legit.
Yeah, it's Tulane is always a good football team. I think their offense always looks a little bit different. But Dan, to your point, they have a very different look this year than what they have in the past. Rob, defensively, are we as good as we have been at Tulane?
Yeah, so statistically, the defense isn't as solid as it's been in the past, but they make up for it by collecting turnovers. So they're currently 78th in rushing defense, allowing about 150 yards a game. That's 4.2 yards a carry. They've given up 7 rushing TTs, which is pretty doggone good. By comparison, Army is 63rd in rushing defense, giving up 141 yards a game at 4.3 yards a carry. Tulane is actually worse at passing defense, and they're overall 94th in total defense. With that, they're 113th on third down percentage, which is allowing opponents to convert about 44% of the time, which is not good. And then they are the most penalized team in the country at 132nd, averaging about 80 penalty yards a game. This is a massively different case for the team by comparison to where they were last year. 2 of their top 4 tacklers are safeties. They're led by safety Jack T. I'm not even going to try and pronounce it. He has 39 tackles, 1 sack, and a pass defense. But their defense, particularly in the secondary, is ball hawking. They have 6 interceptions. They have 3 forced fumbles and 5 fumble recoveries. They're tied for 8th in overall turnover margin at +6. They also have 14 sacks. Between linebacker Harvey Dyson and defensive lineman Santana Hopper, still, even the ECU game, they came back and took the lead on them, but the second half they were able to run the ball with their quarterback. So I think that was the thing that actually saved them. They played complementary football and kept their defense off the field. But, it'll be interesting to see how they match up against Army, just because their run defense is not as solid, but there may be some opportunities in the passing game, even though we don't like to pass.
Yeah. James, special teams?
Place kicker, Patrick Durbin. He's missed 1 extra point, and he's perfect on field goals with a long of 50+, so he should be assumed to be pretty automatic. While their punter, Alec Clark, hit a couple of 50+ yard punts against ECU. So this is going to be close. Then we need to, get yards, even if it just means flipping the field, making sure we're playing a time possession game, field control, ball control game, and then and come away with it.
Yeah. Those of you that might go to the game, weather's calling for cloudy skies, occasional showers, temps getting to the mid-80s. We'll see if the forecast holds. Betting line opened at Army +12.5, has since slid to Army +10.5. Over under opened at 48.5, but has since slid to 46.5. Dana, what are your thoughts on the game?
I mean, when we saw this one on the schedule, I think most people had it down as a loss. But I think if you look at it, it is a winnable game. Definitely not a given that Army's going to win, but the offense is hitting its stride. This defense also seems to be hitting its stride. I mean, both these teams run the ball pretty well. They both throw effectively downfield, and they both fumbled quite a bit more than you'd like to see. So the team that can do its thing without making a mistake is the one that's going to win. Tulane definitely has more talent, but they're also way more mistake prone. I mean, if Army can hold on to the ball and run with power, they have a chance. I mean, probably a better chance than you think.
Rob, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with Dan. I think, the 1-0 mentality has to be there in the locker room. I think for the rest of the season, they're playing a 1-game season. Like each
Absolutely.
has to be the most important game on the schedule, and they can't look at anything else, because I think if they focus in on that and stay off social media and not listen to their headlines, and listen to the boo birds or whatever positive or negative feedback from externally to the organization, I think they'll do just fine. To be completely honest, this is one of the two big games that are left on the schedule, Tulane and Navy. UTSA is not looking good this season. Temple has been hit or miss. And I'm going to talk about this on Roundtable a little bit, but I don't think Navy is as good as advertised. They're 132nd strength of schedule, and they are living and dying by the explosive plays. And this is a whole different other discussion. But if Army can stick with the plan of hey, let's control the time of possession and win the game by 3 points. If it's 3-0 and I have 36 minutes time of possession, great. I'll watch that game all day and twice on Sunday. I think that's more important than getting explosive plays and scoring 50 points.
Yeah, James, do you agree?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think at this point in the season, everything needs to revolve around two games. To the extent that you can make decisions for the next game, you do it. But if it's about hey, we have a bye week at some point, what should we be preparing for at this point in the season? It's Air Force. And by the way, Air Force is thinking the same thing. So I don't know. Yes, I think that we need to, all the truisms of coaching, all those things, right? Win every day, all those things. Realistically, though, are you going to remember this season if we lose to Tulane, but we end up winning the CIC in a better way than you would if we beat Tulane, who we should have lost to, but lost the CIC? Of course you want the CIC. So I don't know. Grain of salt on that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, and not to kind of reopen the conversation we had last week about, is it, do we only focus on Navy and Air Force? James, I don't think that's what you're suggesting here, correct?
No. I'm not saying that we should be doing triple option prep this week, right? Yeah, you prepare for your opponent. But when it comes to personnel decisions, when it comes to extra days where you can install, hey, I want to put a few more plays in the playbook here. Well, I'm not putting plays in the playbook to use against Tulsa at home in week whatever. I'm putting plays in the playbook to use for 2 games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I do have one more note for this game. I'll say this is now the Tulane, John Summerall's, their head coach's 3rd time playing Army. He did it twice at Troy. Actually, this is his 4th time. Twice at Troy, last year against in the American Championship game, and then now this time. In those games, his defensive coordinator has always been a previous Army coach. So Shieldwood, co-DC for Army, Greg Gasparotto, co-DC for Army. The first time he held Army to 9 points and won. The second time he shut Army out in Mikey Stadium with Troy. Last year was the first time Army actually looked good against him. I think you're going to see Cale Helms running a Bryson Daly style offense. That's the only thing that's been working against these old Army guys working for John Summerall in Shieldwood, who's now at Houston, I believe, as the DC there, and Greg Gasparotto, who's still with Summerall at Tulane. I don't think the traditional triple option from their time is going to be what works. I don't think they're going to run with Coleman. I think Helms is the answer. Don't get me wrong. I think Helms won the starting job for the foreseeable future last week. But even if it was a 50-50, I think you have to go with Helms this week just based on the comparative results against this defensive scheme.
Yeah. No, it's I'm gonna make a snarky comment here, but I know when Summerall was at Troy, they were trying to imitate Army in a lot of different ways. Are they still doing that? Do we think he's brought that element of the culture based on the assistant coaches that he's had to Tulane, or do you think this is going to be?
No, I think he's trying
totally
to emulate. He's trying to emulate what's his face, Lane Kiffin, more than anybody.
All right, interesting. Okay,
I will say this Tulane team has this Tulane team does have I don't think that this is what they plan for, but they do have a lot in common with the way Army plays.
Oh, I'm talking about his personality, not his
okay.
play calling style.
I disagree with you when that first game against Troy at Troy that they lost on the missed field goal, and they only scored 9 points, but they left 21 points on the scoreboard with turnovers. I mean, I think Army has done decently against these Summerall defenses.
I mean, getting shut out at home, yeah.
Well, in a rainstorm when Bryson Daly got hurt and it was raining sideways.
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing is that they tried to play ball control against Army, and last year it didn't work because they didn't have an answer to like a slow read option of Bryson Daly.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Army controlled the clock. And
yeah.
So, which was not nearly as true the first 2 times. So, I think if you want to make yourself competitive in this game, obviously we already talked about ball control all the things that are always true of any offense, but especially the triple option, and especially in this game when you might be behind in the special teams. But you really need to use what works best against this historical opponent, and that's Helms running the Daily offense.
Yeah, I will agree with that.
Yeah, no, I agree too, and hopefully, we can come out and play some violent football and put ourselves in a position to win this game. Dan, like you said, Tulane has been better at home this year, and at times they have looked invincible. I think Army fans, it's like, oh, that's a loss. We're going to lose to Tulane. But I don't disagree that this is a winnable game if we come out and we execute to the if we play our kind of football like we saw for 2.5 quarters this past weekend, or that we saw against Kansas State. This is a very winnable football game. We'll just see what Army team shows up.
We need our kicker to force a fumble again against Tulane.
Yeah, wouldn't that
put the hit stick on the return guy?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, gents, I know we're coming up on time here, and let's get into the fact or fiction.
Fact.
That is correct.
Or fiction.
Incorrect.
All right, so recap of last week. Dan said Cale Helms has fewer carries than the team's fullback. That was fact. Dan and Jordan were correct on that. Rob said Army has 3 ball carriers with 50-plus yards. That was fiction. Helms and Reed both had 50-plus. Rest of the fullback carries got split 3 ways between Smith, Bartosh, and Rendina. Noah Short finished with just 8 carries for 20 yards. So that was our recap from last week. Dano, you're up first.
Oh, man, I completely forgot. Go to Rob. Give me a minute to think of one.
Oh, once again, you are encroaching on my move just like James is. Rob, why don't you take us through it?
All right, fact or fiction, Helms has 150-plus yards rushing this week.
Ooh, I'm going to go fiction.
I'm going to say that's a fact. I think that's got to happen, unfortunately. Yeah, I'm going to say fact. James?
I am going to say fact, optimistically.
Okay, I like it.
All right, James, you got a fact or fiction for us?
Yeah, for the second week in a row, Noah Short has more receiving yards than rushing yards.
I'll say fact on that one.
I'll agree. That's a fact.
Yeah, I think we're going to have fact agreement on that one.
I mean, they're going to have to hit some of those passes. That's just the way it's going to be. Even against, as good as they played in the American Conference Championship last year, they had to hit some of those passes to open things up several times.
No, not. You must be thinking of the wrong game. Army hit 2 passes in the AC Championship for 8 and 9 yards.
Yeah, they were big. They were both big plays.
Noah Short had
that must have been a game Dan had a little bit too much fun at the tailgate.
Well, no, Dan was freezing his ass off, and his brain cells were freezing during that game. But no, Noah Short had 8 carries for 50 yards against Tulane last year and 1 reception for 8 yards. So it would be the inverse of last year. But I think that's what they got to go with this year.
Interesting. I'll still say fact. I thought there was more passing in that game last year. I remember thinking that the passing was a weapon in the American Conference Championship game. Oh well. All right. I will say Army holds Tulane under 125 yards rushing, which would be amazing. Rob's looking at me like I am nuts.
I'm going to say fact because I think if
Ooh.
and here's why, because I think the defensive front is finally starting to get confident with their gameplay, so they can shut down the interior run. I think it's going to be, between if the quarterback shakes loose, but I think once he gets hit a couple of times, he's not going to roll out as often or try and get outside the pocket that he previously did. So I'll go with fact. I'll say fact on that.
I'm going to say fiction. They're running the ball really well, and I think that's going to be tough. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm going to say fiction.
I think fiction's the right call there. If put it this way, if Tulane rushes for less than 125 yards, it's because like they're kneeing out the clock and they're taking hits, and they've been passing all over us all game. Like they're averaging almost 190 a game.
Okay,
Yeah.
I guess I think you might have convinced me, and I will unfortunately say fiction. I probably should have put this as a yards per carry under 5, but what can you do?
I'm going to still say fact, and here's the reason why. Because
All right.
Army's going to control the ball and keep them off the field. And so they aren't going to be able to get 125 yards because the offense, complementary football, is going to control the rest of the game. My thoughts.
That would be amazing. We have certainly seen that. Jordan?
Didn't I already answer this one?
Oh, I was just telling you to do your fact or fiction that you got off the First Club.
Yes, I did get it off the Firsty Club. Thank you, Matt, for helping me out. Army has no missed field goals this weekend. Fact or fiction?
I will definitely go fact. Although it was concerning to see 2 misses last week. I did not enjoy that very much, but I will still say fact. Screw it.
Rob?
I'm going to say fact because I'm trying to lean into the positive.
That's good. James?
It costs us nothing to be nice. Fact.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, see, now I got to say fact too because, ruin the graphic. All right. I think that is it for fact or fiction. Now we get Dan's creepy sounder for mailbag.
You've got mail.
Yeah, I should put up some kind of like really strange graphic to go with that one.
You should. I mean, I don't think it's like that creepy, but
it's creepy enough, though.
I mean, it's creepy enough. It's creepy enough. That's true. All right. Hey, so we solicit questions from the Firsty Club. Anybody can send us a question. If you've got something you'd like us to address, you can email us through the website or hit us up on social media at As4Football. Terry Brennan, how concerned should we be that the Army offense only scored 24 points against Charlotte, the bottom feeder of the American? Rob, you have an opinion on this.
Yeah, just real quick. I wouldn't be concerned about it. Chasing explosive plays leads to turnovers. I mean, let's be honest here. Like if we can run it between the tackles, and the one thing that I will say about the quarterback play, and again, I don't like to comment on the offense, but what I have seen is the quarterbacks are at least confident enough when they're outside of the tackle box and there's nothing available, they throw the ball away, which is nice because typically in the past we'd see Army quarterbacks try and force it and it end up being a pick. So I think chasing explosives will get you in trouble. Just control the ball, win by 3.
Dan, do you agree with that?
Absolutely. I when I saw this, I the starting offense, the starting quarterback played 2.5 quarters. This is why you should never bet on a line with it's over 14 points because you don't know what the staff is trying to achieve. The staff was happy with the offensive output and decided to put the other guy in to try to figure out what they've got there.
Mm-hmm.
They were on the scoreboard. As long as you win by 1, you win the game. Like it sucks to give up the shutout, but
yeah,
it wasn't important.
I think it was most important to see Army run the offense that they wanted to run with the quarterback they chose, and them to score enough points to win off it. Like, are there ways that Bryson Daly could have branched off of that last year? And because of who Bryson Daly was, they could have had more options on the perimeter to throw and score a ton more points. And yada. Sure, that's all great, but that all started with the fact that Bryson Daly could run the damn football, and proving to the world that Cale Helms can do that is a good thing.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. All right, let's move on. Mike Davis, how long do we think Monken and Worley keep up the 2 quarterback system with the results when the results are clearly showing one quarterback is performing better than another aside from one game? The staff invested something like 10 quarters in Dwayne Coleman.
Yep.
Dan, like you said, do you think that they're going to continue to bounce back and forth? I mean, based on what we were kind of hearing Saturday and what we saw, it sounds like they've kind of made their mind up, but I could be wrong.
I mean, absent something totally unexpected, I think we've got a decision. So, yeah, I think the 2 quarterback system is probably over unless one guy is just completely ineffective and they want to try something completely different. But no, I think we got a starter at this point.
I think we have a starter just because of how good Cale Helms looked on Saturday. I mean, if he had come out and Army had won this game 21-7, I think there's still questions, or 14-7 or something like that. If he only, I just think they controlled the clock for so well. They controlled possessions really well. Yeah, they punted a couple of times, but it wasn't egregious. But
one punt.
One punt? Okay,
One punt.
Yeah, that's not bad. They did have the block field goal and things like that, but you can't blame that on the quarterback. The thing I would say is, I don't think Dwayne Coleman is enough of a weapon where you're not just going to punt on that. Like when you're going into Air Force Week, CSC games are all about time to prepare, funky things in your playbook to get those 1 or 2 plays that make the difference in the game. And if you don't think the coaching staff has some ideas about how to get Air Force to prepare for one quarterback and then use the strengths of your other quarterback to screw with them, even if those plays are just setups, I just think that there's too much value there. And we talked about sunk cost and all that, but I don't think that's sunk cost. I think you can continue to use Helms to try to win football games while at the same time prepping for those CIC games and trying to put a few wrinkles in there with a different quarterback.
All right. Fair enough.
All right. And our final one is from Bob Orr via social media. How do we beat Tulane, Air Force, Temple, and UTSA? Rob, come at this from a sports psychology perspective, please.
Yeah. So again, it goes back to the first thing is don't read your own headlines. I think that was one of the biggest problems that they had last year going into the Navy game. You had the Joe Moore Award. You had all this hype on Bryson Daly, they're going to helicopter him to, New York, and then he's going to be sitting in the Heisman ceremony.
Yeah.
There's all this hype, right? Just win the damn game. And I think that's really what it boils down to. It's a one game season every week. You do what you can to prep for your opponent, and then you prep for your next opponent when the game is over. Just play Army football, be consistent, control the ball, control the clock, and eliminate penalties, and they can win. They can run the table legitimately if they execute correctly. And I think that's really, that's play your position perfect every play, and then give that perfect effort, and you'll get the perfect results. And I think it's very much a psychology thing. I mean, when the team executes, they execute well. We saw it this past weekend. Now we just need them to finish out those other contests, and we've been close in the games that we have lost.
Yeah. Dan, James, anything to add on that? I mean, it's not the I don't think there's a magical answer of, if we just play, Helms and Coleman at the same time, we can beat everybody else on our schedule. I think it's like, Rob, exactly like you said, it's taking it one game at a time and focusing on the fundamentals. What are the things that we're doing well? And we have seen improvement from this team, over the last 6-7 weeks, right? There's no doubt in that. But I think it's going to be key of, like any game, how do we minimize the bad things, maximize the good things, right? And I realize that sounds very straightforward, but in some ways it is. Obviously, there's game prep and making sure people are healthy and making sure we have the right people on the field and stuff like that. But it's really just the fundamentals. Hey, don't turn the ball over. We only saw 1 turnover this week. That's great. We had 3 a few weeks ago. So it's like, how do we minimize the turnovers and make tackles in space and do the things that have made us successful and do them well? That's how we're going to win and beat all those teams.
Yeah, if you look at the games that we lost, it was a breakdown in something that, you do every day in practice, right? Tackling, freaking holding on to the football, catching the football, like all those things that are required for you to be successful are, fundamentals. Like, don't get penalties.
Exactly.
All those things are all discipline things, and those are it always sucks, but as a coach, you kind of have to strike that balance between taking a win and making it feel like a loss. And the reason why I say that is because, like, when you're analyzing film, you don't want to focus on all the good stuff. Like, yeah, you'll show like the good plays maybe once, but you really want to focus in on the mistakes that were made in those good plays. Like, why?
Yep.
Hey, this was great, but we could have done so much better if, somebody would have, chipped another guy downfield or whatever it is, and it sucks because, again, but that's part of coaching, right? That's why they get paid the big bucks, is to make those positive things, have something to pull the thread on. Because even when you look at, Monken's on the field post-game report was the first thing they talked about, the turnover, right? Yeah, we played great. We did a whole bunch of good stuff, but we have to work on ball security. And that's something that they work on every day. And it's like, would you not be surprised if Coach Monken didn't talk about ball security if there was a fumble during the game?
I will say in his press conferences, and I think this is telling as to where the season seemed to be going at the beginning versus the last 2 weeks. In the last 2 weeks in his press conferences, one of the first things that he mentioned both times was what a great week of practice they had.
Yeah. He generally seems more relaxed and just happier. Like, I don't think the guy is difficult to read, to sort of figure out where his headspace is. And he seems like he's in a better headspace overall than he was earlier in the season and definitely over the summer. And that's pretty indicative of how the team is going. I mean, the guy's been here 12 years. He knows exactly what he's looking at.
And now with all these job openings across the country, if a loss at Tarleton State is going to keep Jeff Monken at Army for the next 10 years,
I'll take it.
I'll take it.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, hey, we've rambled and bitched and complained for the last 57 minutes. So there's probably no one listening at this point. But if you are, hey, really appreciate your support and your viewership and your listenership and for engaging with us on social media. If you feel obligated, please follow us on social media, join Patreon, support the channel, support the pod, as they say. But at the end of the day, we're just a bunch of Army fans talking Army football. So thank you all for your time and listening. Go Army, beat Tulane.
Beat them.
Beat them.
Thanks for listening to this week's Ask for Football Army Football Show. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into Army football. Remember, whether you're cheering in the stands or following along from home, get all your updates on the Army football team at askforfootball.com. And as a special thanks, we would like to thank our sponsor, Jocelyn Bradley Real Estate. If you're looking to buy or sell a home, Jocelyn Bradley is the expert you need. Visit jocelynbradley.com for all your real estate needs. Don't forget, subscribe, leave us a review, and follow us on social media for all the latest updates. Until next time, go Army, beat Navy.